Hi YouTube. Today we're going to affix a table and a fence to this Radial arm saw. This Radial arm saw is a new acquisition for me. I picked it up a couple weeks ago. I was driving along the street, town next door to mine, and I saw this in someone's driveway with a for sale sign on it. I pulled in, I asked him how much, he said $150, and he accepted $100, and then I walked away with it. This is a Dewalt Contractor's Radial arm saw. It's a 12-inch Radial arm saw. This is model number 7790. It's a pretty substantial piece of equipment. It's heavy as hell. This arm right here is it's all cast iron, which is great because when you have the saw extended all the way to the end, there's little to no sag, which is why it's made out of cast iron, which is great. I think what I'm going to use this for is, I think I'm going to keep a stacked dado set in here. It'll save me a lot of time where I won't have to swap out my table saw blade, my regular blade for a dado set. Save me a lot of time and convenience. I'm not going to be using this for a miter cut or for a bevel cut. That's what my miter saw is for there in the back. So I plan to just use this for a dado cut, and it's just going to be perpendicular to the fence. When I was googling to see methods to align your fence to the blade, I really didn't see a whole lot. So we're gonna try and figure this out, see what makes sense, and hopefully we'll get it right. Again, the fence that we're going to be installing has to be perfectly perpendicular to the blade. Obviously, right? So we'll see how we do that. It'll be news to both of us. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and get started on that now. Okay. Okay, I've cut the plywood to length. Normally, what I see most people doing is, if you keep it square at home, the dimensions normally are 28 by 48. But on this table, I don't know if you can see it, I have this gap right here. It's just kind of ugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut in here so that this post can go around and I can cover this up. So actually, my dimensions now are 33 by 48. So we'll see how this works. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if the tabletops fit. Okay, this is not looking too bad. The next step is we have to determine where our fence is going to go. There is a standard convention for this, and what that is, if you look at the right side of the arm here, it's a graduated measurement tape, and here you have it says in rip, it says out rip over here. And what you're supposed to do, all right, so in rip is when you turn your saw thusly, and if you're feeding it from the right hand side, okay, that's called an in rip. Conversely, turn the saw around again, and if you were to feed it from the left hand side, that's called an out rip. This is all new to me too. In any event, what you do to determine where your fence should go is you put it in the in-rip position, and there's a mark right here. It's called in-rip. And then you have these guides right here. One's in-rip, one's out-rip. You take your in-rip, and you just put it up against that mark where it says in rip. And apparently that's where your fence is supposed to be, on the other side of the blade. So that's where your fence is supposed to be. So just gonna lower this real quick. So our fence is going to come in somewhere around here. And the reason behind that is, you know, you want the blade to be completely behind the fence when not in use, or when, you know, before you make your cut. So that's a pretty good starting point. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut the dado to accommodate the fence. We'll get started on that now. Okay, so I put the table on top of the radial arm saw base. It looks pretty good. Next thing we have to do is we have to check for squareness. Okay, so the tabletop is now attached to the radial arm saw base, and it's looking pretty decent. I did have one small discrepancy. The bolts that I used here, I was a ½ inch off, so I had to for the bolts I had to move it forward by ½ inch. I was just rushing. In any event, it still looks pretty decent, and the fence is still square. It is perpendicular to the blade. One thing I have to do now, I have to get this blade behind the fence. So we're just going to go ahead and take the blade off, and then reattach it, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our kerf. Okay. Okay, we've cut the kerf. And the next, I'm just going to go ahead and run a piece of wood through here. I just want to check for squareness. Again, it looks pretty good, but we just want to make sure. So we're just going to go ahead and cut this piece of wood now. That looks pretty good. Flip it around. Looks pretty good. Find my square here. That's pretty nice. I am very pleased with this. All right. Okay, I think we're done. The table's attached to the base. It operates correctly. The fence is perpendicular to the blade. My cuts are square, and I'm very, very pleased. The plywood was, I had this lying around the shop, so I didn't have to spend any money on the plywood. I think I spent $2.40 on the bolts, washers, and nuts from Home Depot, so it really didn't cost me a whole lot to refurbish this. I think I got the deal of the month. Anyway, $100. This is fantastic. You know, like I said before, I think I'm just going to throw my dado stack in here, which will save me a lot of time switching out my table saw blade. And if I use it just for that alone, I think it's worth it. I should note that you know, there are plans for a radial arm saw tabletop by a Mr. Sawdust, and it's a great tabletop for the radial arm saw. That tabletop is 2 pieces of plywood, and what's sandwiched in between are 3 strips of aluminum, and it's very rigid, very substantial, and it's great. It's just, you know, I don't need something that substantial for this, and it's convenient. You know, you could take the fence out, replace it relatively easily. But again, this was not too technical, as you saw. I could just, if I need to replace the top here, or the fence rather, it'll take me an hour. It'll take me 1 hour to replace it. So I'm okay with that. In any event, again, I'm happy with it. I'm very pleased with it. It works for me. So guys, if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.